Grandma could solve problems with the simplest means that we often despair of today. Bread keeps sugar soft, chalk removes grease stains, and lemons make yellowed laundry white again. In this video, I show you 45 such hacks, simple, effective, and immediately implementable. If you want to discover more of Grandma's genius everyday hacks, subscribe to our channel now, and let's revive old knowledge together. Wash dishes in the evening. In the evening, the table never stayed full of plates. Everything went immediately into the sink. The water steamed, the brush lay ready. Who ended the day like that woke up in a different world. No stench from remnants, no ants, no cloudy mood at the first step into the kitchen. The clean sink gleamed like a promise for the morning. A fresh cloth already hung there, dry and neatly folded. This small habit cost minutes and gave hours of lightness. Have sponges. A sponge was never just a sponge back then. It was divided in half with the scissors, and suddenly one held double stock in the hands. The small pieces dried faster, smelled fresher, and lasted longer. One lay next to the sink for the dishes, the other wandered to the work surface. If it finally became brittle, it came still into the garden or to the shoes. From little became much, and one felt how clever habits made everyday life easier. Keep brown sugar soft with bread. Brown sugar was a treasure in the pantry back then, but it had a catch. It hardened and turned into rock-hard lumps. The solution was so simple that one hardly believes it. A piece of fresh bread went into the glass, and already the next day the sugar was loose and sprinkleable again. The bread released moisture, slowly, completely without effort. So, from a small remnant became a savior for the whole storage jar. Wooden spoon over boiling pot. When the pot boiled up and the foam threatened to run over the edge, one didn't reach for the cleaning rag but for the wooden spoon. Laid crosswise over the pot, it interrupted the bubbles and the water stayed where it belonged. A small piece of wood kept chaos from the stove and saved a lot of work. The spoon lay right at hand for stirring, warm in the hand and faithful in service. So simply, one could keep a kitchen in order. Baking soda in egg cooking water. A teaspoon of baking soda in the cooking water made a tedious job an easy one. The eggs peeled almost effortlessly after cooking. The white stayed smooth and intact. Especially with fresh eggs, this small hack was invaluable because the shell sticks particularly there. Whoever then put the eggs in cold water and lightly tapped the shell could pull it off without effort. A plain hand motion that saved time and ensured evenly beautiful eggs. Bacon fat as spread. Rendered bacon fat was too valuable back then to pour it away. After frying, it was poured into a glass, stored in the fridge, and later spread on bread. Warm, it gleamed golden. Cold, it was spreadable and strong in taste. A quick spread that satisfied and, for many, was the highlight of a simple meal. Whoever wanted it spicier added a pinch of salt, pepper, or a few onion pieces. So even plain farmer's bread became a feast. Bread remnants to croutons or breadcrumbs, stale bread didn't go in the trash. It got a second life, often even a more delicious one than before. Cut into cubes and fried in butter, it turned into crispy croutons that refined soups and salads. Dried thoroughly and ground fine, it became a stock of breadcrumbs for schnitzel, dumplings, or casseroles. Every kitchen had a glass for that in the shelf, so appreciation was shown for every piece of bread, and everyday life got a special spice. Scrape out jars with milk. When the jam jar was almost empty, it didn't end in the trash. A shot of milk in, shaken vigorously, and already the sweet remnants dissolved from the glass walls. So arose a fruity drink that children and adults loved. Also, honey or chocolate cream transformed this way into a special glass of milk. Nothing was lost. Everything found use still. The empty glass finally landed clean in the shelf or at the recycling. A small hack that brought great joy. Freeze remnants in old ice cube trays. Empty ice cube trays had a second life. Carefully rinsed, they waited in the cabinet for their use, and soon one filled them with soup, sauce, or a remnant stew. In the freezer, they stood neatly stacked, colorful and practical, ready for the next quick hunger. Children grinned when they pulled a tray from the compartment and found potato soup instead of ice. So arose an order that not only saved, but also told stories. Coffee grounds for scrubbing. Coffee grounds didn't simply go in the trash back then. It got a second task and became a scouring agent for pots and pans. The coarse grains rubbed off burnt remnants without scratching the surface. A splash of water, a sponge to it, and already loosened what otherwise stuck stubbornly. Especially on grills or iron pans, the coffee grounds showed its strength. Afterward, it was rinsed thoroughly, and left was a clean pot and the good feeling of having wasted nothing. Clean cast iron with salt. A cast iron pan was no disposable product. It should last a lifetime. Therefore, one didn't reach for dish soap after cooking, but for salt. The grains trickled into the still warm pan and were rubbed with a cloth, so burnt remnants dissolved without destroying the patina. A short swish with hot water, then the pan dried on the stove. Finally, a touch of oil over the surface, and it was ready for the next meal again. Polish furniture with olive oil and lemon. A dull wooden table got its shine not from a bottle from the store, but from the kitchen. Olive oil and lemon juice were mixed, a soft cloth dipped in, and the wood absorbed the care greedily. The oil nourished the surface, the lemon brought brightness and a fresh scent. With calm, circular movements, a shimmer arose slowly that reminded of earlier days. A final polishing with a dry cloth, and the furniture piece acted as if it had gotten new breath. Clean windows with vinegar and newspaper. A window cleaning agent didn't stand in the cabinet back then. A bowl with water and a shot of vinegar sufficed. The pane was rubbed with it, the smell bit briefly in the nose, and then the newspaper came into play. Crumpled in the hand, it rubbed vigorously over the glass until streaks and fingerprints disappeared. The printer's ink acted like a fine scouring agent. The paper left no lint. In the end, the sunlight fell clear and bright into the room, and everything acted fresh. Scrub oven racks with aluminum foil. A crusted oven rack didn't mean a new cleaner from the store right away. One reached for a piece of aluminum foil, crumpled it to a firm ball, and started. With some soapy water or a touch of baking soda, the ball scrubbed over the metal bars until the brown layers gave way. It went surprisingly fast and left no scratches. In the end, the rack gleamed again, and the aluminum foil, anyway already used, had fulfilled its service a second time. Thrift became ingenuity. Clean drains with baking soda and vinegar. If the water in the sink became sluggish and odors spread, no expensive agent helped, but the simplest stocks. A spoon of baking soda went into the drain, then a shot of vinegar. Immediately it began to bubble and hiss, as if the pipe itself breathed. A quarter-hour rest, then boiling water after. Suddenly the sink ran free again, fresh and clean. Such moments reminded how effective simple ingredients can be if one uses them right. Hang clothes in bathroom while showering. A wrinkled shirt didn't always mean the grip to the iron. One hung it in the bathroom while the shower ran hot water. The steam crept into the fibers, loosened the folds, and smoothed the fabric, completely without effort. A short shaking beforehand strengthened the effect. After showering, the shirt hung fresh, scented, and surprisingly smooth on the hook. So from a simple ritual in the bathroom became an elegant shortcut that saved time and still showed effect. Dry pillows with tennis balls. If pillows came flat and clumped from the machine after washing, that was still no reason for worry. 2 clean tennis balls went into the dryer and provided for proper movement there. With every hit, they loosened the filling, distributed feathers and fibers evenly, and accelerated drying. Whoever wanted dripped some fragrance oil on the balls and had afterward a fresh scented fluffy pillow. A small hack that made bed and bedroom inviting again. White laundry through lemon water and sun. Yellowed kitchen towels or bed sheets didn't have to be given up. A bowl of hot water, a few lemon slices in it, and the laundry was allowed to soak full in it. Afterward, it hung dripping wet in the sun, where light and warmth continued the work. Slowly, the gray veil gave way, and the white returned. Whoever turned the cloth in between achieved even better results. In the end, bright fabrics fluttered in the wind and filled the yard with the scent of freshness and summer. Vinegar as fabric softener. A glass of clear vinegar often stood ready next to the washing machine. A shot of it into the compartment sufficed, and the laundry came soft and fresh from the drum. The vinegar dissolved soap remnants, took the hold from lime, and drove away old odors. Towels soaked full again, bed linen lay supple in the hand. Whoever wanted dripped a little oil in and had then not only clean, but also scented laundry. A simple knack that provided reliable services to generations. Chalk on grease stains. A fresh grease stain on shirt or tablecloth didn't have to frighten anyone. A piece of white chalk sufficed to absorb the oil and save the fabric. One rubbed the chalk directly on the spot, let it act briefly, and gave the garment afterward into the laundry. The stain was often gone before it could set properly. Many households therefore always kept chalk ready, as silent helper in the cabinet. Candle wax on drawers. A jamming wooden drawer could nerve the hole every day back then, but instead of screwdriver or violence, one simply took a candle stump to hand. The wax was rubbed over the edges, thin and evenly, and suddenly the drawer glided effortlessly again. No more squeaking, no jerking, only gentle gliding. Some even used beeswax if it was just there. Such small hand motions kept old furniture alive, and every pull on the drawer reminded how clever simplicity can be. Soap on wooden rails. If a drawer went heavy or an old window was hardly movable anymore, one didn't reach for tools. A piece of firm soap sufficed. Quickly stroked over the wooden rails, it left an invisible trace that made the wood supple. Suddenly, the drawer glided gently, as if newly oiled. Such hacks were self-evident because soap was present in every household. A simple remnant from the wash block sufficed to make everyday life easier and the furniture usable longer. Wax paper on curtain rods. If curtains hung and caught, no new curtain and no patience when pulling was needed. A piece of wax paper sufficed. One rubbed it over the rod, left a wafer-thin layer, and suddenly the rings glided gently and silently. This small hack acted almost invisible, but the difference was immediately noticeable. Also, clothes rods or shower curtains profited from it. Such solutions arose from what was anyway in the house. Simple, fast, effective, and with a pull the fabric hung light again. Mayo against water rings. A wooden table with light rings was not considered lost. A spoon of mayonnaise was applied. The white layer gleamed in the light and was allowed to act in peace. The oils pulled into the wood, dissolved the enclosed moisture, and gave the surface new warmth. After an hour, one wiped the rest with a soft cloth, and the ring was gone or hardly visible anymore. Whoever wanted mixed a pinch of salt in. Toothpaste on water spots or scratches. A small dab of toothpaste could work wonders. Applied with a soft cloth, one rubbed it in gentle circles over the water spot or the fine scratch. The paste, lightly abrasive and at the same time polishing, took the dull place from the wood or glass. Afterward, one wiped with a damp cloth and rubbed dry until the surface gleamed again. No special polish, no effort, only a hand motion with what was anyway in the house. So small flaws disappeared almost playfully. Baking powder in the fridge. An opened fridge could quickly develop its own scent mixture, often not particularly pleasant. The solution was plain: a small bowl with baking powder. It stood in the compartment, absorbed moisture and odors until the interior acted neutral again. No perfume, no artificial scent, only fresh air between butter and cheese. Once a month the powder was changed, and the old served then still for cleaning. So one kept stocks clean and preserved the fridge from foreign notes. Lemon peels in trash can. If the trash can spread its own scent in summer, there was a simple counterplayer. Lemon peels that remained from baking or cooking went into the can. Their essential oils neutralized the stench and spread a bright, fresh smell that was noticeable even between potato peels and coffee grounds. The peels had to be renewed regularly, but they fulfilled their purpose until the trash was carried out. So even the waste gave still a touch of cleanliness and summer in the kitchen. Cloves in orange. An orange studded with cloves was far more than just a scent dispenser. It lay in cabinets or hung on ribbons and filled the room with a mixture of citrus freshness and spicy warmth. Moths kept distance. Clothes smelled clean and light. The fruits dried slowly out, but their scent remained long. Such pomanders not only decorated the chests, they were also eye-catcher and reminder of times when simple ingredients refined everyday life. Scent, protection, and beauty in one. Black tea leaves on carpet. Used black tea leaves didn't disappear in the trash back then. One dried them lightly and scattered them over the carpet. The tea bound dust and odors, the fibers acted afterward fresher and livelier. After a short time, the leaves were swept together or vacuumed, and the room smelled clean without a drop of chemistry in play. Especially dark carpets profited from this simple hack. Vinegar in the wash cycle. A shot of clear vinegar went directly into the washing machine and worked wonders there. The fibers became soft, the colors fresh, even old odors disappeared. Soap remnants dissolved, lime had no chance. Towels came absorbent out, bed linen lay supple in the hand. Whoever wanted dripped a few drops of oil in and had then not only clean, but also scented laundry. Simple, cheap, and effective. A means that provided reliable services to generations. Bread piece to pick up glass shards. If a glass broke, the broom often wasn't enough. The tiny shards remained invisible back, dangerous for every foot. Then a piece of bread came into play. Soft and lightly moist, it took even the smallest shards that one could hardly recognize with the naked eye. First, the large pieces were swept away, then the bread pressed over the floor and disposed with shards. So the room stayed safe, and a remnant of bread had fulfilled its last task. Ice cubes on gum. A stuck gum could quickly become a small disaster. On the carpet, on the shoe, or even on clothing, it seemed unsolvable. But with an ice cube, everything changed. The cold made the chewy mass hard and brittle so that it could be scraped off simply after a few minutes. No violence, no tearing of fabric. Whoever was smart put the garment right into the freezer. A tiny piece of ice defeated a sticky plague that otherwise would have ruined the day. Ice pack on wax stains. If candles dripped and the wax hardened on tablecloth or carpet, that was no reason for despair. A bag of ice came into play, was laid on the spot, and made the wax hard and brittle. Suddenly, it could be lifted piece by piece without tearing at the fabric. For the last remnants, blotting paper and a warm iron sufficed later. From a small mishap became so a simple task that disappeared without traces and with some patience. Pantyhose over vacuum tube. A lost earring in the carpet didn't mean hours of searching on all fours back then. One pulled a piece of old pantyhose over the vacuum tube, fixed it with a rubber, and turned the device on. Dust and crumbs disappeared, but the jewelry piece stayed on the fabric, well visible and easy to grab. So the vacuum became from the devourer of small things the savior. A hack that showed how out-of-service stockings became useful one last time and held surprises. Clean jewelry in mineral water. If rings and chains lost their shine, no one had to go to the jeweler right away. A glass of mineral water sufficed. The carbonation released fine bubbles that laid on the jewelry and dissolved dust, fat, and dirt. Hours later, one took the pieces out, dabbed them dry, and they sparkled again almost like new. It was as if the bubbles had breathed fresh breath into them, an everyday drink transformed so into a care secret for treasures. Turn mattress at daylight saving time. When the clocks were set forward in spring and back in fall, it also reminded of a task in the bedroom. The mattress got its place change. Once turn, once flip, and the lying traces distributed evenly. So it stayed durable longer, and the sleep felt fresh like on a new bed. Often the whole was connected with fresh bed linen and aired blankets. A small ritual that brought order and relieved body and mind at the same time. Clean from top to bottom. When cleaning, a clear system helped that saved time and prevented double work. First, the highest places in the room were wiped, shelves, lamps, and cabinets, so the dust could fall down. Then came the tables and surfaces in line, and quite at the end the floor. So one worked step by step down until everything gleamed. It was almost like a choreography that generations knew and passed on, so cleanliness really succeeded completely. Make bed in the morning. A made bed was often the first victory of the day. After getting up, the blanket was shaken out, pillows straightened, and everything smoothed. The room acted immediately tidier, even if chaos still reigned around. Whoever began so carried the feeling of structure and calm out into the day. In the evening, no crumpled mess waited, but an inviting place to rest. A small hand motion that made from morning routine a piece of security and constancy. Old socks as dust wipers. A single sock didn't lose its value, it got a new task. Pulled over the hand, it transformed into a perfect dust catcher. Suddenly, the fingers glided effortlessly over radiators, baseboards, and window frames. The fabric nestled into every crack. The dust stayed stuck where it otherwise would escape. Afterward, the sock came into the laundry or was disposed, depending on condition. A last use before the garment finally disappeared, practical, frugal, and ingenious at the same time. Dryer sheets against dust and static. A simple dryer sheet could work wonders in the household. Instead of only scenting the laundry, one wiped with it over TV, speakers, or shelves. The dust disappeared, and at the same time, an invisible layer laid that prevented it from returning so quickly. Even the static charge that magically attracted dust lost its power. Whoever tried that once reached again and again for this hack, so the screen stayed clear longer, the surfaces clean, and the room acted fresh and cared for. Halved lemon in the fridge. Between cheese, sausage, and remnants, a heavy smell can quickly spread in the fridge. Back then, one didn't reach for scent dispensers, but simply cut a lemon in half and placed it in the compartment. The pulp drew the foreign odors and left a clear, fresh scent that was noticeable immediately when opening. Every few days, the lemon was exchanged, sometimes sprinkled with a touch of baking soda. So the fridge stayed not only clean, but spread every time a small piece of summer. Clean copper with ketchup. Copper lost its warm shine with time and acted dull, almost lifeless. But in many kitchens, the rescue lay ready. A bottle of ketchup. A dab on a soft cloth rubbed over the dark surface, and the acid of the tomatoes dissolved the matte layer. After short acting, the piece was rinsed and dry polished. Suddenly it radiated again, as if it had just left the stove. An everyday product transformed into a surprising polish. Polish silver with toothpaste. Tarnished silver acted often like forgotten, but with a simple grip, it got new shine. A dab of toothpaste on a soft cloth or an old brush sufficed. With circular movements, the dark coating dissolved, and piece by piece the bright shimmer returned. Afterward, it was rinsed and polished until the silver sparkled like on the first day. No special agent, no effort, only an everyday means that suddenly became the keeper of old treasures. Fight weeds with hot water. Between paving stones and driveway entrances, the weeds always showed stubbornly again. Instead of tediously pulling or reaching for expensive means, one simply poured boiling hot water over it. The heat penetrated deep into leaves and roots, let them wilt and die. Especially effective it was with young green that offered hardly resistance. Often one took the noodle or potato water from lunch right away. A hand motion that brought order without chemistry, only with what was anyway there. Protect shower curtain from mold. A shower curtain was quickly a victim of moisture. If it stayed pushed together after showering, it stuck together, dried badly, and soon showed dark spots. Therefore, it was pulled completely out so air reached it from all sides. Now and then, one wiped it with vinegar water or gave it into the machine together with a towel that scrubbed during washing. So it stayed light and fresh, and the bath acted clean even before one saw the tiles. So the small hand motions of our grandmothers live on, simple, clever, and effective. If you like these hacks, subscribe to our channel and stay tuned. Many forgotten household treasures are still waiting to be discovered. Share the video with friends and let yourself be inspired.